Excuse me, what did you just call me? Zara Mitchell stood frozen in the middle of Seoul's Gangnam district, her iced Americano threatening to slip from her fingers. The man in the crisp black suit in front of her didn't flinch. Mrs. Kang, he repeated, bowing slightly. The private jet is fueled and waiting. Your husband requests your presence immediately. Zara laughed, not a polite laugh, not an, oh, you've made a mistake laugh. No. This was the kind of laugh that made three businessmen walking past stop and stare. Sir, she said, clutching her chest dramatically, I am 27 years old. I have never been married. I don't know any Kang. And the only thing waiting for me is a mountain of marketing reports and my boss's bad attitude. The man, who looked like he bench-pressed cars for fun, simply pulled out his phone and showed her a photograph. Zara's blood ran cold. It was her, definitely her, standing next to the most devastatingly handsome Korean man she had ever seen in her entire life. They were both dressed in wedding attire, her in a stunning white hanbok, him in a traditional Korean groom's outfit. She was smiling. He was smiling. They looked in love. What kind of Photoshop foolishness is this? Zara snatched the phone, zooming in on her own face. That's my smile. That's my dimple. That's even a scar on my eyebrow from when I fell off my bike in 3rd grade. But I have never... Mrs. Kang. The man's patience was clearly wearing thin. Your husband is waiting. I don't have a husband. But even as the words left her mouth, Zara felt something strange. A memory flickered. Her grandmother, before she passed away last year, squeezing her hand and whispering, Asterisk baby, I've secured your future. One day you'll understand. One day, the Kang family will come for you. Asterisk. Zara had assumed Grandma Ruth was talking about her 401k. Apparently not. 20 minutes later, Zara found herself doing something she absolutely should not have been doing. Sitting in the back of a Rolls Royce, being driven toward a private airstrip. Why? Because she needed answers. And apparently this husband of hers had them. Her phone buzzed. Destiny's face lit up the screen. Girl, where you? Her best friend shrieked through the speaker. You said you were getting coffee. You've been gone for 45 minutes. Did you finally snap and quit? Tell me you didn't fight your boss again. Destiny, Zara interrupted, her voice eerily calm. I'm being kidnapped. Silence. What? I'm in a Rolls Royce. There's a man who keeps calling me Mrs. Kang. Apparently, I'm married to some Korean billionaire I've never met. There's a private jet involved. Destiny, I think Grandma Ruth did something. More silence. Then Destiny burst out laughing so hard that Zara heard her knock something over. Girl, what? This is not funny. It's hilarious. You mean to tell me that your sweet little grandmother, who used to bake us cookies and tell us stories about her nursing days in Korea, secretly arranged for you to marry a billionaire? And you're complaining. I'm not complaining. I'm confused. There's a difference. Send me a picture of him. Destiny. Send. The picture. Zara grudgingly screenshot the photo and sent it. 3 seconds later, Destiny screamed so loud that Zara had to pull the phone away from her ear. Zara Lynn Mitchell, if you don't get on that private jet right now. My middle name is not Lynn. It is today. That man is fine. He looks like if a K-drama villain and a CEO had a baby raised by angels. Get on the jet. Get answers. Get married. I'm already apparently married. Then get married again. I'll be your maid of honor. Go. Destiny hung up. Zara stared at her phone. Then at the man driving silently in the front seat. Then at the approaching airstrip where a sleek private jet sat waiting like something out of a movie. This is insane, she muttered. But she didn't ask the driver to stop. Because Zara Mitchell was many things, dramatic, stubborn, occasionally petty, but she was not a coward. And if someone had been playing games with her identity, her grandmother's memory, and her entire life, she was going to find out why. Even if it meant boarding a suspicious private jet. Even if it meant meeting a husband she never knew she had. Even if the jet door opened and a flight attendant in an immaculate uniform bowed. Welcome aboard, Mrs. Kang. Your husband is waiting in the main cabin. Zara took a deep breath, squared her shoulders, and walked up the stairs. Time to meet the audacity in person. The interior of the private jet looked like a luxury apartment had been compressed into an aircraft. Cream leather seats, mahogany accents, fresh flowers in crystal vases. And sitting in the center of it all, legs crossed, reading something on a tablet, was him. Kang Jae-won. In person. He was even more devastating than the photo. Sharp jawline that could cut glass. Dark eyes that held the kind of intensity usually reserved for predators. Perfectly styled black hair that somehow looked both effortless and intentional. He was wearing a charcoal three-piece suit that probably cost more than Zara's annual salary. Maybe twice. When she entered, he looked up, and for a moment, just a moment, something flickered in his expression. Surprise? Recognition? Zara couldn't tell. Then his face smoothed into cold indifference. "You came," he said. His voice was deep, controlled, like he measured every word before releasing it. "I wasn't sure you would. You sent a man to essentially kidnap me for my morning coffee run. My choices were limited." A ghost of a smile tugged at his lips. "Just a ghost. Sit down, Mrs. Kang. We have much to discuss." "I'll stand, thank you. And stop calling me that." "Calling you what?" "You're a title. I am not your wife." Zara crossed her arms. "I have never met you. I have never married you. And the fact that you have pictures suggesting otherwise is concerning on multiple levels. So I'm going to need you to start explaining, because I'm about 3 seconds from calling the police, the FBI, the CIA, and my cousin Marcus, who just got out of prison, and is looking for a reason to violate his parole." Jae-won set down his tablet, studying her with an expression she couldn't read. "You really don't know," he said finally. "Know what?" He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out an envelope, old, weathered, the paper yellow with age. He held it out to her. "Your grandmother," he said, "and mine. They made an arrangement 30 years ago. A marriage contract. Binding, legal, and very, very real." Zara didn't move. "That's impossible." "Read it." With trembling hands, she took the envelope. Inside were documents, legal papers, handwritten letters, photographs. A photo of a young black woman in a nurse's uniform, standing next to an elegant Korean woman in traditional hanbok. Both were smiling. It was her grandmother, 30 years younger, but unmistakably Grandma Ruth, and the Korean woman. "My grandmother," Jae-won confirmed. "They were friends. Best friends. Actually, for the 5 years your grandmother worked at the hospital in Seoul, where mine was being treated for tuberculosis. Your grandmother saved her life." Zara's hands were shaking now. "Grandma Ruth never told me she worked in Korea. She never told you many things, apparently." Jae-won's tone was matter-of-fact, almost cold, including the fact that she signed a marriage contract promising her first granddaughter to my grandmother's first grandson. That's medieval. That's tradition. That's illegal. Actually, it's not." Jae-won leaned back, perfectly composed. "The contract was registered with both Korean and American authorities. Your grandmother had power of attorney. Everything was done legally. You've been my wife on paper since you turned 25. Zara felt the world tilt. 2 years, she whispered. "I've been married for 2 years and no one told me? I've been trying to locate you for 2 years. Your grandmother's death complicated matters. She never provided your exact location, only that you existed. It took my investigators considerable time to find you." "Investigators? You hired investigators to find me. You're my wife. I had a responsibility." "I am not." Zara stopped, pressing her hands to her temples. Okay. Let's say this is all real. Let's say my grandmother, for reasons I cannot possibly fathom, legally married me to a stranger when I was 25. That doesn't mean I have to stay married. Divorce exists. Annulment exists. I can just undo this. Something shifted in Jae-won's expression. Something that almost looked like pain. "You could," he said carefully, "but I would advise against it." "And why is that?" "Because if you divorce me," he said, "you lose everything." Chapter 4. The Catch. "Explain," Zara demanded. "Now." Jae-won gestured to the seat across from him. This time Zara sat, not because he told her to, but because her legs were threatening to give out. "Your grandmother wasn't just a nurse," he said. "She was exceptional, brilliant. My grandmother wanted to repay her kindness, but yours refused money, gifts, anything tangible. So instead, my grandmother did something else. She invested. In your name." He pulled out another document, this one filled with numbers that made Zara's eyes cross. "For 30 years, my grandmother invested in stocks, real estate, and business ventures. All in your name. All as part of your dowry, you might say." "My what?" "The current value is approximately $47 million. Zara's brain short-circuited. "I'm sorry, what?" $47 million. Give or take a few $100,000, depending on market fluctuations. Zara stared at him, then at the paper, then at him again. You're lying. I don't lie. You're lying. This is a scam. You're one of those romance scammers my mom warned me about. You're trying to steal my identity. Your identity is already mine, legally speaking. Then you're trying to harvest my organs. For the first time, a genuine expression crossed Jae-won's face. Confusion. Why would I need your organs? I have perfectly functional organs. Because this doesn't make sense. Zara jumped up, pacing the length of the jet cabin. You're telling me my grandmother secretly worked in Korea, befriended a rich Korean woman, promised it to her grandson, and somehow I'm a millionaire, but only if I stay married to you? The inheritance is tied to the marriage. Jae-won confirmed. If you divorce me, the money goes to charity. Those were my grandmother's conditions. Why? Why would she do that? Because she believed in fate. Jae-won's voice softened almost imperceptibly. She believed that her life being saved created a bond between our families that should last forever. And she believed, he paused, looking away, she believed that you would make me happy. Silence. Zara slowly turned to face him. Happy? Yes. She thought, I would make you happy. Yes. Does she know I can barely make myself happy? I'm stressed, I'm overworked. I have student loans. And my love life is a dumpster fire that hasn't seen a spark of joy since 2019. She died before she could research those details. Despite everything, Zara let out a startled laugh, then stopped, covering her mouth. This isn't funny. You laughed. It was a stress response. Jae-won almost smiled. Almost. Look, Zara said, trying to gather her scattered thoughts. I appreciate the bizarre family history. I do, but I can't be married to a stranger. I don't know you. You don't know me. I have a life, a job, friends, an apartment with a very judgmental cat named Beyoncé who doesn't handle change well. I'm not asking you to give up your life. Zara paused. Then what are you asking? Jae-won stood, and Zara realized for the first time how tall he was, how commanding his presence felt in the enclosed space. I'm asking you for 1 year. A year? Stay married to me for 1 year. If, after that time, you still want a divorce, I'll grant it, and you'll still keep the $47 million. No strings. No conditions. Zara narrowed her eyes. What's the catch? The catch is that you have to actually try. Live with me. Let the world believe we're married. Attend events as my wife. And... He hesitated. And let me try to make you want to stay. Zara's heart did something inconvenient. A little flutter. A tiny rebellion. She shut it down immediately. You want me to pretend to be your wife for a year while you court me? Like some kind of historical drama? I prefer to think of it as a business arrangement with romantic potential. That's the most unromantic thing I've ever heard. I'm aware my approach lacks conventional charm. Jae-won's jaw tightened. I was not raised for romance. I was raised for duty, responsibility, and obligation. But I am willing to learn, if you give me the chance. Zara studied him, really studied him. The perfect posture that looked almost painful, the carefully controlled expression, the way his hands, clasped behind his back, were just slightly trembling. He was nervous. This intimidating, billionaire, cold as ICO, was nervous. Talking to her. Why me? She asked softly. You could have fought this. Paid lawyers to break the contract. Found some loophole. You clearly have the resources. So why go through all this trouble to find me? Jae-won was quiet for a long moment. Because my grandmother asked me to, he finally said, on her deathbed. She held my hand and said, find her, the Mitchell girl. She's the one. Those were her last words. I don't know why she believed it so strongly, but I promised her I would try. Zara felt tears prick her eyes. She blinked them back. My grandmother said something similar, she admitted. Before she died, she said, the Kang family will come for you. Trust them. They'll take care of you. Then perhaps our grandmothers knew something we don't. Perhaps they were two meddling old ladies who should have minded their business. Jae-won's lips twitched. Also possible. Zara took a deep breath. Then another. She thought about her life as it was. The job she didn't love. The apartment that was too small. The constant struggle to prove herself in a country where she would always be an outsider looking in. She thought about $47 million. She thought about Grandma Ruth's knowing smile. 1 year, she said finally. But I have conditions. Name them. 1. I keep my job. I'm not quitting to become some trophy wife. Agreed. 2. Separate bedrooms. I don't care how big your house is. I get my own space. The estate has 14 bedrooms. That won't be an issue. 14. Zara held up her hand. You know what? I'm not even going to process that right now. 3. If I say no to something, it's no. You don't push. You don't manipulate. You respect my boundaries. Absolutely. 4. No one knows this is an arrangement. If people ask, we met through our grandmothers and had a long-distance relationship. I'm not giving anyone ammunition to say I'm married for money. Understood? 5. Zara stepped closer, looking up at him with fierce determination. If you hurt me, emotionally, physically, any kind of way, I walk. And I take every dollar, everything I'm legally entitled to. And I will make your life miserable in ways you cannot imagine. I have a cousin who just got out of prison, and he's very creative. Jae-won held her gaze without flinching. You have my word. I will never hurt you, Zara. It was the first time he'd said her name. It sounded different in his voice. Softer, almost reverent. Zara's heart did that inconvenient thing again. She stuck out her hand. Then we have a deal, husband. Jae-won looked at her hand. Then, slowly he took it. His palm was warm. His grip was firm but gentle. We have a deal, wife. And as the private jet's engines roared to life, carrying them toward a future neither of them could predict, Zara had one very clear thought. Grandma Ruth, I really hope you knew what you were doing. This is a house? Zara stood at the bottom of a marble staircase, staring up at what could only be described as a palace. The Kang estate sprawled across grounds that probably had their own weather system. Traditional Korean architecture blended seamlessly with modern luxury. Curved roof lines and ornate wooden details alongside floor-to-ceiling windows and sleek minimalist design. It's the family estate, Jae-won said, as if living in a literal palace was perfectly normal. Built in 1890, renovated in 2015, 37 rooms, including the 14 bedrooms I mentioned. 37 rooms. We also have a guest house, a traditional tea pavilion, and a private hiking trail. Of course you do. Zara's phone buzzed. Destiny. She'd been sending increasingly frantic messages since Zara texted her that she was flying to Jeju Island with her husband. Zara, girl, are you alive? Zara, send me a live photo. Zara, if you're being trafficked, blink twice. Actually, no, send a voice memo so I can hear if you're lying. Zara, I swear to God. Zara quickly typed back, *, I'm alive. The house has 37 rooms. I'm either in a fairy tale or a horror movie, still determining which. *, Zara, horror movies don't have private jets. Actually, wait, yes they do. Destiny. Okay, I'm concerned again. Your friend. Jae-won asked, noticing her typing. My best friend. She's convinced you're either my soulmate or a serial killer. And which does she lean toward? Depends on the hour. A woman appeared at the top of the staircase. Middle-aged, elegant, dressed in a simple gray dress that somehow radiated expensive. She bowed deeply. Secretary Kim, Jae-won said, This is Zara, my wife. The woman's face betrayed nothing. Welcome, Mrs. Kang. Your room has been prepared per your husband's specifications. If you'll follow me. Secretary Kim handles all household matters. Jae-won explained as they climbed the stairs. Anything you need, she could provide. Anything. Within reason. What if I want McDonald's at 3 a.m.? Jae-won blinked. We have private chefs. That's not what I asked. Secretary Kim, without missing a beat, said, The McFlurry machine at the Jeju City location is notoriously unreliable, but I've made arrangements for priority service should you require it. Zara stared at her, then at Jae-won, then back at Secretary Kim. I was joking. I never joke about fast food, ma'am. Zara decided she liked Secretary Kim. Her room was not a room. It was an apartment within the estate, a sprawling suite with a sitting area, a bedroom the size of her entire Seoul apartment, a bathroom with a tub that could fit 6 people, and a walk-in closet that was already filled with clothes. These are... Zara touched a silk blouse, noting the designer label. These are my size. I had your measurements acquired from your apartment building's concierge, Secretary Kim explained. Your dry cleaning records provided the necessary information. That's incredibly invasive. That's efficient, ma'am. Zara made a mental note. to have a conversation about boundaries. Later, when she wasn't still processing everything, after Secretary Kim left, Zara walked onto the balcony attached to her room. The view was staggering, lush gardens stretching toward distant mountains, the evening sun painting everything in shades of gold and orange. "Can I come in?" She turned. Jae-won stood in the doorway, looking almost uncertain. It was strange, seeing someone so powerful look hesitant. "It's your house, but it's your room, your space. You set the rules, remember?" Something in Zara's chest softened, just a little. "You can come in." He walked toward the balcony, standing beside her but maintaining a respectful distance. "I know this is overwhelming," he said quietly. "I know you didn't ask for any of this. And I know that no matter what I say, it will take time for you to trust me. You've got that right. But I want you to know—" He paused, staring out at the gardens. "I didn't want this either. When my grandmother first told me about the contract, I was furious. I had my own plans, my own expectations for my life. Being bound to a stranger wasn't part of them." Zara turned to look at him. "So why didn't you fight it?" "Because I learned something about my grandmother in her final years, about why she made this arrangement." He met Zara's eyes. "She wasn't just grateful to your grandmother for saving her life. She loved her, like a sister, like family. And when your grandmother left Korea to go back to America, mine mourned her for years." Zara's throat tightened. "This contract," Jae-won continued, "wasn't about forcing two strangers into marriage. It was about hope. Hope that the bond between our grandmothers would live on, that their families would stay connected, that love, whether romantic or otherwise, would grow from their friendship. That's actually beautiful. My grandmother was a romantic, annoyingly so sometimes." Zara laughed despite herself. "Mine too. She used to tell me these elaborate stories about a Korean woman she once knew. The most elegant, stubborn, impossible woman I ever met, she'd say. We used to drive each other crazy. I thought she was exaggerating. She wasn't. My grandmother said similar things about yours. Apparently, they once got into a fight about how to properly fold blankets that lasted 3 days. That sounds exactly like something Grandma Ruth would do." They shared a moment of quiet understanding. Two people bound by a history they hadn't chosen, trying to make sense of a present they hadn't expected. "I can't promise I'll fall in love with you," Zara said finally. "I can't promise this will work, but I can promise to try, to give this year an honest chance. That's all I ask." She held out her hand again. "Partners." He took it. Partners. And as the sun set over Jeju Island, Zara felt something shift. Not quite trust, not quite affection, but something close to possibility. Maybe this insane situation would destroy her. Or maybe, just maybe, it would become the greatest adventure of her life. Asterisk if you're loving Zara's journey so far and can't wait to see what happens next. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for Seoul and Savannah. New stories drop every week, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Hit that bell so you're the first to know. Asterisk. 3 weeks into her strange new life, Zara discovered something unexpected. Kang Jae-won was weird. Not in an obvious way. Not in a concerning way. Just weird. He had a secret stash of instant noodles that he ate when he thought no one was watching, despite having 3 Michelin-starred chefs on staff. He named all the koi fish in the garden pond after K-pop idols. He could watch sad movies without crying, which he tried to hide by pretending to have allergies. "You're allergic to the scene where the dog dies?" Zara asked skeptically during one of their getting-to-know-you movie nights. "I'm allergic to the cinematography." "The cinematography. It's very emotionally manipulative cinematography." She handed him another tissue. He took it without comment. These moments were strange, almost domestic, almost normal. But the real test came when Jae-won asked her to attend a company event. "It's the annual shareholder gala," he explained over breakfast, a meal they now took together by mutual unspoken agreement. "Everyone will be there. The board members, the executives, their wives and husbands. It would be significant if you attended." "Significant how?" "It would be the first time I introduce you publicly. As my wife." Zara set down her chopsticks. "And what happens when they start asking questions? About how we met, how long we've been together, why no one's ever heard of me before?" "We tell them the truth, an edited version, which is, our grandmothers were close friends. We were introduced through family connections. We had a private wedding because neither of us wanted media attention." He paused. "All true, technically." Technically being the key word. You're a marketing specialist. I assumed you'd appreciate strategic communication. Zara snorted. I appreciate honesty. Then here's honesty. Jae-won set down his own chopsticks, giving her his full attention. The business world is cutthroat. The moment people sense weakness, they exploit it. An arranged marriage, no matter how valid, will be perceived as weakness. But a love match, a surprising romance, that's a story people root for. So we're selling a fairy tale. We're protecting ourselves. Both of us. Zara considered this. He wasn't wrong. If their arrangement became public, she'd be painted as a gold digger forever. Every accomplishment she'd ever achieved would be overshadowed by the woman who married a billionaire through a contract. But as a love story, she could control that narrative. Fine, she said, but I'm going to need a really good dress. For the first time since she'd met him, Kang Jae-won genuinely smiled. It transformed his entire face. Suddenly, he looked younger, softer, almost playful. Zara's heart did something extremely inconvenient. She ignored it, aggressively. The dress was emerald green, floor-length, with a dramatic slit that made Zara feel like a superhero and a queen simultaneously. Her locks were styled in an elegant updo, threaded with gold, and her makeup was subtle but powerful. Glowing skin, dramatic eyes, lips that could kill. When she descended the staircase of the estate, Jae-won was waiting. He stared. For a long moment, he just stared. Is something wrong? Zara asked, suddenly self-conscious. Is it too much? Secretary Kim chose it, and I wasn't sure. You're beautiful. The words came out rough, almost involuntary. Jae-won cleared his throat, looking away. The dress suits you. You look appropriate for the occasion. Did you just call me appropriate? I'm trying to maintain professional composure by calling me appropriate. Would you prefer I say that you're the most stunning woman I've ever seen, and I'm genuinely struggling to form coherent thoughts? Silence. Zara's eyes widened. Jae-won's ears turned red. Let's go, he said quickly, turning toward the door. We'll be late. Zara followed, biting back a smile. The gala was held at one of Seoul's most exclusive hotels. Chandeliers dripping with crystals. Men in tuxedos, women in gowns. The kind of wealth that felt almost obscene. The moment Jae-won and Zara entered, conversation stopped. Heads turned. Cameras flashed. They're staring, Zara murmured through a fixed smile. Let them. Jae-won offered his arm. She took it. They can stare all they want. They can't touch. As they moved through the crowd, greetings flowed. Men clapping Jae-won on the shoulder, women air-kissing near his cheek. Everyone's eyes constantly sliding to Zara with barely concealed curiosity. And who is this stunning creature? An older man with silver hair and cold eyes approached. Don't tell me you've been hiding a girlfriend, Jae-won. Not a girlfriend. Jae-won pulled Zara slightly closer. My wife. The man's eyebrows nearly reached his hairline. Wife? When did this happen? Recently. We prefer to keep things private. But surely the board should have been informed. My personal life is not board business, Chairman Yu. Something sharp flickered between the two men. A history Zara didn't understand, but could sense. Well, Chairman Yu said after a tense pause, Congratulations. I'm sure she's lovely. The way he said lovely made it sound like an insult. Zara's spine straightened. I'm standing right here, sir. You can address me directly. Chairman Yu's eyes narrowed. Of course. Forgive me, Mrs. Kang. I simply wasn't expecting someone so outspoken. I prefer the term direct. It saves time. Jae-won made a sound that might have been a laugh disguised as a cough. Chairman Yu smiled thinly. I can see why Jae-won married you. He always did like challenges. And I can see why you're in business. You have the charm of a debt collector. Jae-won definitely laughed that time. Chairman Yu's smile froze. Enjoy the evening, Mrs. Kang. He turned and disappeared into the crowd. You just insulted the second largest shareholder in my company, Jae-won said. He deserved it. He absolutely did. I've been wanting to say something like that for years. Then why didn't you? Politics. Strategy. The need to maintain peaceful relationships with people I despise. That sounds exhausting. It is. Jae-won looked at her with something new in his expression. Admiration, maybe. Thank you for saying what I couldn't. That's what wives are for, right? To tell off your enemies at fancy parties. I don't think that's in the traditional wedding vows. It should be. For the rest of the evening, Zara noticed something changing. The way Jae-won looked at her. The way he stayed close, even when he didn't need to. The way his hand would rest on her back, warm and protective, whenever someone approached. And she noticed herself, too. The way she leaned into him naturally. The way she found herself laughing at his dry observations. The way her heart rate increased every time their eyes met. This was supposed to be an arrangement. It was starting to feel like something else. Her name was Choi Soo-min, heiress, model, the woman everyone expected Jae-won to marry. Zara learned about her the week after the gala, when Destiny called screaming, "Girl, do you know who Choi Soo-min is?" "No." "She's Korean royalty. Like, not actual royalty, but basically, her family owns half of Gangnam. She went to Harvard and Cambridge. She's been on the cover of Vogue Korea 3 times. And according to the internet, she was dating Kang Jae-won for 2 years before you mysteriously appeared." Zara's stomach dropped. "What?" "It's all over the gossip sites. People are saying you stole him from her. They're calling you a homewrecker." "I can't wreck a home that was never mine. Tell that to Twitter." Zara hung up and immediately cornered Jae-won in his home office. "Who is Choi Soo-min?" Jae-won's typing paused. "I was wondering when you'd ask about her. Were you going to tell me?" "I was trying to find the right moment." The right moment was before the entire internet started calling me a husband stealer. Jae-won stood, closing his laptop. "Soo-min and I dated. It was strategic. Our families have business connections, and there was pressure from both sides to formalize things." "Did you love her?" "No." The answer was immediate. No hesitation. "I cared for her," he continued, "in the way you care for a friend you've known for a long time. But love? No. I never led her to believe otherwise." "Then why is the internet making it seem like you two were the romance of the century?" "Because that's what her publicity team wants people to think." Jae-won moved closer. "Soo-min is ambitious. Our relationship ending was a blow to her reputation. She's been spinning the narrative to make herself the victim. And I'm the villain? You're the target." Zara wanted to scream, wanted to throw something. Instead, she forced herself to breathe. "I didn't sign up for this. I know. I'm not equipped to fight Korean heiresses with better PR teams than me. You don't have to fight alone." Jae-won reached out, hesitating for a moment before taking her hands. "Zara, look at me." She did. His eyes were intense, sincere. "I will handle Soo-min. I will make sure the truth comes out. And I will not let anyone make you feel like you don't belong here. You are my wife. That means something. Not just legally, but to me, personally." Zara's breath caught. "Jae-won, I know this wasn't what either of us planned. I know you didn't choose me. But I'm choosing you. Every day that you stay, I'm choosing you. And I will keep choosing you until you believe it." The words hung in the air between them. Something broke in Zara. A wall she hadn't realized she'd built. That was... She swallowed hard. "That was incredibly romantic. I've been practicing." "You practice?" "Secretary Kim has been making me watch K-dramas for research." A startled laugh escaped Zara. Then another. Then she was laughing so hard that tears streamed down her face. "K-dramas," she gasped. "You've been studying K-dramas to learn how to be romantic. They're very educational." "You're ridiculous." "I'm trying." And somehow that admission, awkward, earnest, completely genuine, meant more than any grand gesture ever could. Zara squeezed his hands. Okay, I believe you. And okay, I'm choosing you too. For real this time. Not just because of the contract or the money or our grandmothers. Because of you." Jae-won's expression softened into something vulnerable, something real. "That means more than you know." Choi Soo-min came to the estate. She didn't call ahead, didn't announce herself, just swept to the front doors like she owned the place, designer heels clicking against marble floors. "Where's Jae-won?" she demanded of a startled staff member. But it was Zara who appeared at the top of the staircase. "He's in a meeting. Can I help you?" Soo-min's eyes traveled over Zara slowly, dismissively. "So, you're the one. The American. The American with a name. Zara Mitchell. Well, Khan, I suppose." "That's temporary." Zara descended the stairs, keeping her expression calm even as her heart raced. "Is it?" Soo-min smiled, a cold, perfect smile. "You don't understand how things work here, do you? In Korea, family matters. Connections matter. History matters. You have none of those things. You're a novelty. Something different to amuse him for a while. But eventually, Jae-won will remember where he belongs. And that's with you? That's with his own world, his own people. Zara reached the bottom of the stairs, stopping directly in front of Soo-min. Let me tell you something about your own world, she said quietly. I've worked in Korean marketing for 4 years. I've learned the language, respected the culture, built relationships through mutual effort. I'm not some tourist playing pretend. This is my home, too. Your home is wherever you came from. My home is wherever I choose to make it. That's how home works. Zara stepped closer. And I'm choosing here, with Jae-won, not because of his money or his status, but because he sees me, all of me, and I see him. Can you say the same? Or did you just see the Kang name? Soo-min's mask cracked, just for a moment, revealing genuine pain beneath. He was supposed to be mine, she whispered. He was never anyone's property. Zara's voice softened. Neither were you. That's something no one ever taught us, isn't it? That we can choose ourselves. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. Two women shaped by different worlds, but constrained by similar expectations. You really love him, Soo-min said finally. It wasn't quite a question. Zara realized, with startling clarity, that she did. Yes. Soo-min nodded slowly. Then, without another word, she turned and walked out. She never bothered him again. The year was almost over. Zara stood on the balcony of her room. Their room now, though they'd maintained separate sleeping spaces, watching the sun set over the garden she'd come to love. 11 months, 334 days. Countless shared meals, movie nights, laughter, arguments, reconciliations, and slowly building trust. Tomorrow, the contract would be fulfilled. She could walk away with $47 million and her freedom, or she could stay. You're thinking too loudly. She turned. Jae-won leaned against the balcony doorframe, watching her with that intense gaze she'd grown to love. I'm thinking about tomorrow. What about it? The contract. The year being complete. She paused. My choice. Jae-won moved to stand beside her. I won't ask what you decided. That wouldn't be fair. What if I want you to ask? He turned to face her. Zara, because here's the thing. She took a deep breath. I know what I should want. The smart move. Take the money. Take my freedom. Go back to my old life with new resources. That's logical. Except I don't want logic. She reached out, touching his face. He leaned into her palm like it was the most natural thing in the world. I want movie nights where you pretend not to cry. I want breakfast debates about whether to use a formal dining room or eat in the kitchen. I want Secretary Kim's deadpan commentary and Beyoncé the cat's judgment when we stay up too late. Jae-won's voice was rough. That sounds like a lot of wants. It sounds like a life. Our life. She smiled, tears pricking her eyes. My grandmother knew what she was doing after all. She knew I'd need someone who would be patient with me, who would respect me, who would choose me every single day until I learned to believe it. She sounds wise. She was a meddling old lady who played the longest game in history. Zara laughed through her tears, and I'm so grateful she did. Jae-won pulled her close, and for a moment, they just held each other. I love you, he said, the first time either of them had spoken the words aloud. I think I started falling for you the moment you threatened me with your cousin Marcus, who is still on call, by the way. I wouldn't have it any other way. And when he kissed her, properly, finally, completely, Zara realized that some things in life couldn't be planned, couldn't be negotiated, couldn't be arranged. They could only be discovered. 2 years later. Babe, your mother is on the phone. Zara waddled into Jae-won's home office. Phone extended, belly leading the way. 7 months pregnant with twins, and apparently, they had inherited their father's dramatic timing. Mom. Jae-won took the phone. Yes. She's resting. No, she's not resting. She's running a global marketing company and growing 2 humans simultaneously. Yes, I've tried to convince her to slow down. Yes, she threatened me with Marcus. Again. Zara grinned and settled into the chair across from his desk, a permanent fixture now, since she refused to be banished to her own office when she wanted company. Her own office, in the estate they now shared completely, in the life they'd built together. Destiny visited last month, spent an entire time alternating between cooing at baby preparations and demanding stories about their early days. I still can't believe you almost didn't get on that jet, she'd said. I almost did a lot of things, Zara had replied. But I've learned that almost doesn't count. What counts is what you actually do. Now, Watching her husband argue affectionately with his mother about proper prenatal care, Zara thought about the journey that had brought her here. A contract she never signed, a husband she never chose, a life she never expected. And somehow, against all odds, the greatest love story she could have imagined. Not because it was perfect. It wasn't. They still argued. They still struggled. They still had moments of doubt and fear and uncertainty. But they also had this. Two people who chose each other every single day until the choice became as natural as breathing. Grandma Ruth would have loved this. And somewhere Zara knew two grandmothers were watching, one Korean, one American, nodding with satisfaction at a plan decades in the making. For everyone who followed Zara and Jae-won's journey, there are some truths worth remembering. Love isn't always convenient. Sometimes it arrives at the worst possible moment, in the strangest possible way, with a man you never expected calling you wife before you've ever met. The people who love us sometimes see our future more clearly than we do. Grandma Ruth knew something Zara didn't, that her granddaughter needed someone who would be patient, respectful, and persistent. Sometimes the wisdom of those who came before us is worth trusting. You have the right to set boundaries. Zara's conditions weren't demands. They were self-respect. Never apologize for requiring respect in any relationship. Choosing each other is a daily act. Love isn't a one-time decision. It's waking up every day and deciding that this person, this life, this journey is worth the effort. Home is wherever you decide to make it. Zara built her home in Korea not by accident, but by choice, effort, and belonging. You belong wherever you plant your roots. And finally, the best stories often start with "this is absolutely insane." If everything in life was predictable, we'd never grow. Sometimes the craziest chapters become the most beautiful. Asterisk, and that's a wrap. Family, if this story touched your heart, made you laugh, or had you screaming at your screen, you know what to do. Subscribe to Seoul and Savannah and join our community of K-drama lovers, romance enthusiasts, and everyone who believes in love that crosses borders. We've got more stories coming. Stories of love, culture, connection, and everything in between. Hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video. Asterisk. Until then, stay blessed, stay beautiful, and never stop believing in your own love story.